Breaking news! We are so excited to announce that in 2024, we're starting a Book Cougars Patreon reading salon. This will be on the fourth Sunday of each month, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, for an hour of conversation about books you're reading, literary things in the news, movie adaptations of books, whatever's bookish going on. We would just love to get together and chat with folks. This is going to be for our Patreon supporters at the $5 and above level, and we would love to have you join us.
If you're already a patron, you'll get an email with all the details. If you'd like to join our Patreon community, look for the link down below. Hi everyone, it's the Book Cougars, two middle-aged women on the hunt for a good read. I'm Emily.
And I'm Chris.
Happy New Year!
Totally Happy New Year!
We're off and reading.
Our first Friday reads of the year.
Yeah.
This is what you're in for today.
Yeah. And we have stacks of books.
We have stacks of books and some show and tells, and I'm bringing my cat energy today, as you can see.
Was that a holiday gift or no?
This is a gift last year from Laura, the hoodie. The scarf I've had forever, but you know, we don't live with cats currently, and I miss cats.
Yeah.
So here we are.
These are easy to take care of.
They are, right? You don't step on litter in the mornings. They're not batting your nose at 4 a.m.
Yes, exactly. So we thought we would do a little show and tell of some things we got as gifts or for ourselves over the holidays. On our last Friday reads, I talked about this gift.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. It's a little battery pack for my phone, or if you have like speakers and things that take a certain kind of charge. It's the mini USB or the, what is it called? Lightning.
Lightning
Yeah.
charger. Look and show them how thin it is, too. It's really
so
thin.
tiny. You can put it in your back pocket, put it in your purse. I've been taking it with me, and it's, you know, from the New York Public Library store, which was one of our gift ideas this year, was the shop at the New York Public Library. And it's one of those library cards, like in the back of a book. I just adore it. It's something I would have never bought for myself. I'm so happy to have it.
Nice.
And just a reminder, I think, like, sometimes when I'm looking for a gift for someone, not just over the holidays, but those people you don't know what to get them, bookstore sidelines and, you know, library, like the New York Public Library. The library I was up at Maine even had a little gift shop this summer. Yeah. I did get this other gift, which was this very cute pouch from the Strand Bookstore. And I love it because it shows that, you know, it's as if it's in the olden days of the Strand. But just recently when I was there with Aunt Ellen, they still have these carts, you know, that they roll out front. So I really love that they represented that.
I love the back, too. Like, you see people and books in every window. I love these two riding their
little tandem bike.
Yeah.
And then inside, this just cracked me up, was this notepad that said, to do or not to do.
Nice.
I want to have more not to do's this year.
Yes. There was a book that was super popular in the early 2000s called Good to Great. I think Jim Collins is the author. And one of the big takeaways from that book is to stop doing things. Like, what do you need to stop doing? And like really focus on the things that are going to make you great. I mean, it's a business book, but, you know, you can get life lessons out of it as well. So,
time management.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Oh, well, you know what? One of the cool gifts I got, my sister got me a Reading Women calendar.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's on my wall, though. I did not bring it for a show and tell. But one of the things I got for myself, my last book browse was at the Barnes & Noble in North Haven, Connecticut. And I was looking for a journal to write, a journal with a fountain pen. And I found this lovely journal. Look how lovely it is. It's, you know, gilded edges.
Size, too.
Yeah, I love this size to journal. And it's a tad smaller. I love the Rhodia. The orange, I think they call them web books, is kind of my favorite. And I have that on order, but I knew it would take a while to arrive with the holidays. But this is by a company called Peter Pauper Press. fine gifts since 1928. And Peter Popper, like the point of making, having that name is that their goal was to produce really well-made journals that were inexpensive for anyone, for, you know, a lot of people to be able to afford. So this one is lined. And as I said, it takes fountain pen ink so well. There's no very minimal like ghosting, you know, behind the page kind of thing. So love it very much. And I'm going to keep an eye out for this company a little bit more because, you know, these are great gifts too.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the thing is, even if you give a gift of a journal to somebody, and if they're not a journaler, they could use it for a to-do or not to-do list, or
exactly.
They could regift it.
Or it could be their book journal. I love having a book journal, you know, just writing down little things. I have to say, when you said Peter Popper, I had a flashback to my typing class in high school. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. I still can't type to this day, but anyway, maybe that's why it was a flashback.
What's really funny is because I don't remember what I had in my typing class that we had to do. But my dad, it was always like when he was testing a pen or a typewriter or something, it would be, now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. And it's interesting because when Laura and I were just, you know, meeting and getting to know one another, I did that one time on something. And she's like, oh my God, my mom always uses that phrase too. So, you know, and, you know, I think Laura's mom would have been 90 this year, and my dad would have been 84. So I wonder if it's like a generational thing.
Yeah, it was that and the quick brown fox jumps over the log or something. Yeah, I don't remember.
Anyway, wow. There's so much I don't remember about high school.
It was a little while ago. So we also thought we would talk about what we're currently, like Friday Reads, currently reading, but in relation to a New Year's goal, a 2024 goal/resolution, which we will be talking about
on episode 199.
Which will be, I think, January, I have to do math.
Here, wait, let's pull
17th, 16th? That's not really math. It's just trying to remember a date.
Yeah, January 16th.
16th, okay. So we're going to talk about all of our 2024 hopes and intentions. Did I say resolutions?
I don't know. I mean,
I did.
It works as well. I mean, you know.
So I would like to read short stories. I have said this before. And I woke up on New Year's Day and I was like, I'm going to read a short story every day.
Wow.
And then I said to myself, if you haven't read any last year, perhaps that's, you know, not setting yourself up for success. So I'm going to read one a week, which seems very manageable to me. And part of the impetus for me is that these 3 books literally stare at me from my shelf that's across from my bed. So I look at them every day, several times a day. And this is Lucia Berlin. And she was an author that really found fame after her death, unfortunately. And this book is a book that I attribute to my falling in love with short stories. And it was handed to me by Kim Corkin, who was a chef at the Wynn's Cafe, where I worked in the late 90s and early 2000s. And we were in a book club together. And I professed one day at the book club that I don't like short stories because just as soon as you're getting into the story and the characters, it's over. The next day, I was sitting in the office at the restaurant, and she dropped a copy of this book into my lap and said, try this one and then tell me if you don't like short stories. Fell in love. And as a matter of fact, sadly, Kim has passed away. And I was telling my gentleman caller and his son about this book and how I have been searching for a copy of it forever, in memory of her, really, and to read it again. And this was a gift to me several years ago by Liam.
Nice.
Yeah. And he's very good at finding out of difficult to find books.
Nice.
So I'm going to start with her because I have several of her books. This is called Evening in Paradise. And this one is called A Manual for Cleaning Women.
Oh, I remember you talking about this book. Yeah.
I talk about them.
Nice. She has really nice covers.
Yeah. Well, these were both published posthumously. And I believe this one became a New York Times, like one of their top 10 books of the year. I just was reading this morning that she wasn't I guess you're not included in a lot of awards if you've passed away.
Right.
Right. So she probably would have, I shouldn't even say probably. Her writing's amazing, and she did have some success during her life. She also had a lot of health challenges. She had double scoliosis and punctured her lung, and she was on oxygen for a lot of her life. She taught, and she did a lot of manual jobs to make a living, and that's what particularly A Manual for Cleaning Women is about. You know, those kind of stories of people working hard. Isn't that cover is amazing?
Yes.
There's also a memoir, I think it's a memoir about her that I tried to get my hands on before we recorded today, but I didn't find a copy yet. And so I just wanted to show you some of the other, what I'm going to do is just keep this pile of short story collections around. And then on Monday morning, pick one to read.
I was going to ask you if you had like a day of the week you were going to aim for.
I do. Monday morning, and I did do a spreadsheet. I'm not planning to really like map it out yet. We'll see if I change my plans on that. So this is Old Crimes by Jill McCorkle. This book is publishing next Tuesday, January 9th. And she is someone who I've actually gotten to be in a room with, and she's described the way she writes short stories is they're kind of long. And then as she rereads, she starts to whittle them down and drop characters that are, not important to the story and stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool.
And then this is the collection that I did my first week. The story I read was the end of The World is a Cul-de-sac, which is also the title story of the book by Louise Kennedy. It was effing dark. Really dark. So I'll be talking about that story on episode 199. And then I have this Jim Salter, Last Night, which I've only read one of his short stories, so I'm anxious to read more. And then I also just have one of these, the Best American Short Stories. This was guest edited by Elizabeth Strout, and I believe it was yeah. So, and I've read some of the stories in here, but I want to dig deeper. So, whether I'll add more collections, I mean, this is plenty of work. Yeah. And I'm really going to try to just read one. Like, don't make it feel too daunting. I think it took me 15 minutes to read that story on Monday.
I know sometimes I make too big of a deal over short stories. I mean, short stories can be on the long side as well, but when you flip through it and you see like, oh, okay, I can handle that.
Yeah.
It's one cup of coffee or tea, whatever your jam is. So. And
also once I scaled back from 365 to 52, it felt a lot more manageable. And I have to say, on Read Appalachia, I just saw that Kendra Wilkinson is reading a short story a day.
Yeah, a day.
I have my eyes on you, Kendra. We'll see. And I'm making fun, but I'm actually, I might find some interesting short stories to read from her. So. But that's 365 is a lot.
It is. Well, and this is a nice balance to your current Friday reads. What are you reading? Tell them.
Oh, right. The Covenant of Water, which actually the computer is sitting on top of because it's, this big. By Abraham. Last week I pronounced it Verghese. It's actually Verghese.
Verghese.
Yeah.
Verghese.
Yeah.
Cutting for Stone was his first one.
Yeah, which was amazing also. And I am hybridly reading that one. So I'm listening to it and reading it at the same time. And he narrates, and he's doing a great job.
Nice.
Sometimes I think authors get in over their head.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I look forward to hearing about your short stories.
So do I.
Yeah. Nice. So with your spreadsheet, are they stories you want to read, or are you just logging them as you read them?
I'm just logging them. Okay. And I'm not planning to plan ahead yet.
Okay.
But then I was thinking well, what if I watch a video of Kendra's and she talks about one? Maybe I would throw it in there because then I could go to the library, get the book, whatever. We'll see. But for now, I just want to track what I've read.
Cool.
And kind of use it as my accountability buddy.
Yeah, exactly. I started a spreadsheet too. And I have 2 different sheets on it. So one is books read. And then the other one is, books I want to read. And I'm going to try and keep that super short. Because sometimes my Goodreads TBR is a little overwhelming when I look at it. But I did erase it all one year. It's over 1,000 books again. That happens so fast.
Yes.
So, and on my spreadsheet, I have a column for who recommended it.
Oh, that's a great
if somebody
idea.
did,
Yeah. That's a really good idea.
And then whether or not I own it and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to get too carried away with it, but I thought that's something I want to kind of touch every day, and just kind of stay on top of it and circle back to the people who recommended a book, whether it's a booktuber I watched or somebody in passing said, you should read this. And, so.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So 3 of the books that are on my TBR, one of the intentions I have this year is to read 19th century novels, which I kind of do here and there anyway, but I wanted to be a little bit more thoughtful about which ones I read, and then also get to some of them that have been on my mind for a long time. So first up is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. This is a bit of a chunkster. This is the Barnes & Noble edition, which I've had for a while. I mean, I think I bought this last year sometime. I have never read anything other than Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre by a Bronte sister. And I love Jane Eyre. And Wuthering Heights, I think, is up. Can I say the F word?
I don't know. We might have to.
Okay. And Wuthering Heights is effed up. That's all I got to say with that. I think, I didn't read Wuthering Heights until I was in my 30s. So I think maybe if you read it when you're much younger, that angst and abuse of love can be a little bit more attractive. I'm not really sure. I'm judging. So
maybe it depends on whether you've had your own experience. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I've never been interested in reading that one. I know too much about it. I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Next up will be one by George Eliot, Silas Marner, I believe, Marner. And this is a thinner book. And so I should say I'm showing these in the order that they were published. The Tenant of Wildfell Hall came out in 1848. And it's set in 1827. So this one came out in 1861. But apparently Eliot did some major revisions to it. So this edition is the 1878. And then the third one on my list, and I should say the George Eliot and then A Tale of Two Cities by Dickens were my last purchases of 2023. I picked these up at Barnes & Noble when I was there. A Tale of Two Cities was published in 1859, and it's set during the Reign of Terror in Paris, partially. And it makes me wonder, and this one, it's kind of a medium size. It's not too big of a chunkster. There, the 3 of them are together, so you can see really different sizes there. It makes me kind of want to read that book by Robert Darton that I've talked about on a past episode. His new book about Paris, leading up to the revolution and what, common, regular, everyday people, sorry, I'm shaking the table, thought about politics and what was going on in their country. So those are 3. I don't want to set a thing for myself like that I'm going to read one a month or anything like that, or even necessarily a number, although 6 sticks in my mind. It's also my favorite and lucky number, so it could just be that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I also, one of the other resolutions, intentions that I have is to read a book when I want to read it.
That's a great
one. And not hold off and say like, oh, I'll read this one in November for Victober, which is, or was that November? No, that's October. Because November is nonfiction November. So Victober is when people focus on reading Victorian novels. Okay. So I'm thinking like, if I'm in the mood to read a particular novel, I'm going to read it when I want to read it. Yeah. And then when that month comes around, if I want to read a book in that theme, I'll go for a different book.
Or can you participate in Victober and say, back in April, I read.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think totally. Like, because there's people, I mean, there's a lot of conversation on different booktuber channels about that. But then you also see, I think, Instagram too and stuff. So yeah, I think you can always, always chat about any book, it seems like, in this day and age.
I think you should just read them when you want, and then you could do a video saying, these are the ones I read this year in honor of this month, you know,
right,
whatever.
Yeah, with this month in mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally.
Because I agree with you. I mean, one of the things I love about being in a book club is you read books you wouldn't typically read, or maybe you didn't know about or whatever. But I also really learned being in a book club that sometimes it's like, you know, this is a really good book, but it was hard to read something really dark in February, you know, and if I weren't going to my book club this month, I would have put it down and probably enjoyed it more on a warm August day, you know?
Yeah.
So I wholeheartedly support you in reading when you want to read.
So it's going to be challenging. Yeah, buddy reads are not exactly, you know, how will I work that? Because I love buddy reads, but, you know, I don't want to put anything too far in the future because then what if I'm not in the mood for that in August or whatever? So, anyway.
Well, that's partly why we do our own intention setting, so we can check with ourselves. And, you know, that's partly why I did this, because these, you know, we're just, especially these, as I said, have just been talking to me and talking to me and talking to me. And I was like, well, how can I answer back?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yes. Should we hold our books up, our stacks? We want to know what you're reading this weekend.
Absolutely.
We're still interested if you got gifts, you know, that you're excited to tell us about. Let us know.
Or if you've blown your gift cards, if you got those. Yeah. All right, everybody. Happy reading.